Hi guys, this is Tal from Anim Toolbox. Editable Motion Path was recently getting a lot of updates and new features, so I will go over them. I'll start with the most fun parts, the new editing and sculpting tools. Motion Path got a proportional editing brush. Select a keyframe or multiple keyframes, press O or click on proportional editing, change the radius if necessary, and drag the keyframe. The rest of the keyframes within the brush radius range will move proportionally to the selected keyframe. This is especially useful when working with dense keyframe data like motion capture. It is also possible to change the fall-off interpolation and the radius from the properties. Radius can be also changed using hotkey F or using the mouse scroll button while moving a keyframe. If I press on Go to Active Keyframe, the current frame will switch to the last selected keyframe, so it's easier to see the pose in this frame. Next one is the Smooth brush, which can be turned on from the panel or using Shift S while hovering over a keyframe. The brush will smooth the relation between any keyframe using the Catmull-Clark algorithm, so it behaves similar to the smooth sculpting brush but on your animation curves in the 3D viewport. This is great for cleaning jitteriness or for smoothing out the curves and timing in world space. The strength of the brush can be changed from the panel. I've also added a selection brush, which is similar to the select circle in Blender, but for selecting multiple keyframes on the motion path. It can be turned on and off using the C hotkey while hovering over a keyframe. Using Shift with the brush, I can deselect the keyframes. When working on a motion path that is dense with keyframes like motion capture and selecting multiple keyframes, I recommend turning Bezier handles off to save performance, since they are not useful in this case and can slow performance down. The brushes appear light blue when disabled, orange when hovering, and white when activated. It is possible to change these colors in the add-on preferences from the color theme, as well as keyframe colors for different behaviors. Otherwise, it is also possible to change the visualization from the panel itself. For example, the thickness of the lines or the scale of the keyframe points. It is now also possible to change different visualization types. For example, instead of using before and after colors for the current frame, using alternate to see the frames change more clearly. Or use velocity. Velocity will change the color automatically to red and blue, and will interpolate these two colors depending on the speed and spacing. So bigger spacing between the 2 points will become more red, and smaller spacing will become more blue. I've also added some properties to have more control over these values. The first is a velocity blending factor, which controls the contrast between the values, and the other two values will clamp them. So basically we'll set a limit for the maximum and minimum spacing. Rotation channels are now also available in the motion path. When selecting the rotation channel, the motion path will be baked into the tail of the bone, so to the tip of the bones instead of the base which represents the location. When moving the rotation keyframes, they will behave like aim control or track target, so the bone tip will always point in their direction. As you can see, when the points extend to the bone length, they will eventually snap back into the tip of the bone. This will preserve the bone's actual rotation path. Bezier handles will behave differently for the rotation motion path. They basically will appear in the position where the tip of the bone appears at the handles frame. I can use subframe to show what I mean. I go into the in-between frame, and this is where the bone's tip is currently at. It is also possible now to switch to a motion path in camera space. So the motion path is always relative to the camera and also moving with the camera. This is working only with the current active camera and doesn't work when switching cameras with markers. It is still possible to edit the keyframes in camera space. However, the Bezier handles will still appear in world space. Cursor offset will add the distance of the bone position between the current frame and the 3D cursor to the whole motion path. This is, however, not relative, just offsetting the motion path. It is possible even to use both camera space and give it an extra offset with the cursor offset. In case you don't remember all the shortcuts, you can now see them in the status bar in the bottom while the motion path is activated. For example, with Ctrl and mouse click, you can add or remove keyframes from the motion path. One small extra update to Anim Toolbox that is not related to the motion path is a new frame range for copy-paste world matrix or copy-paste relative matrix. Previously, it was possible to paste the matrix into the current frame, selected keyframes, and frame range. Now it is possible to use also selected keyframes range, which is a combination of frame range and selected keyframes. It will paste the matrix onto every frame between the first selected keyframe and the last selected keyframe.